Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of My Adoption Story. Unfortunately, Alicia couldn't make it today, so I was asked to fill in for her, and I jumped at the chance. I said, sure, I'd do it. If you didn't see the episode where she interviewed me, I was adopted from China myself, and today I'm super excited to interview a fellow adoptee. His name is Joseph. He spent some time as in the foster care system. He has strong faith, so let's hear from Joseph. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Hello, guys. It's Joseph. I was in the foster care system for about 10 years, living with my aunt. She's basically the mom of the household. She basically raised me, the person who I am today. The foster care system is a big benefit for other kids. So, it offers education and it offers go to universities and everything if you take advantage of it.
Yeah. What are some of those benefits? You mentioned university, but what other ones would be included in that?
They help pay for medical until you're age 26. They help pay for your college as long as you keep your education up to like A's and B's. They will send you a stipend of a certain amount that you can live on so that you can get on your feet, providing by the rules. I think that's a big thing that people don't know about the foster care system, because I believe that a lot of foster care system that people go by, they don't understand the great benefits.
Yeah. And I know just from what I've heard in media or just in regular life with people I went to school with or worked with, there's a stigma around foster care and the foster placement, saying that kids in the foster system are unwanted or just not any good or anything like that. So how would you respond to that?
From a background, for example, getting abused, from there, they would be put into a loving home. Nowadays, they have background checks and they would check rooms out. But before that was implemented, they won't do that. They didn't have background checks. I think that they're basing that off of the old system when they never had background checks. They never checked the house for anything. But for an experienced foster care, we had month-to-month basis of a foster care person coming in and checking the rooms and then checking to be approved by it. That's one thing that I believe that you guys got to know is they have changed it a lot. They have came a long way to keep these kids safe. And I believe that, yeah, they still are working out the kinks on it, but the foster care is not a bad thing.
For sure. You're probably right. People are basing their opinions off of just history, which it's unfortunate that they didn't do those background checks. They didn't do those house checks. But then when they saw that it did endanger the children, it's a good thing that they put those in place. So from your experience, what would you say is the most challenging part of being part of the foster care system for as long as you were?
The most challenging part, I guess, is to adapt. I was a kid that I got lucky and I was part with my family. So family came in, stepped in, and they were able to come in and take me in. And that's my aunt. But most other kids, their problem is that when another family steps in and takes care of them, it's not their family who's doing it. It's some random person taking them out of their situation and putting it into their home. So it's harder for them to adapt. If you're going into the foster care system, for example, when you're 5 years old, it would be harder for that 5-year-old to adapt because you need that mother to be support. So when a kid is pulled away from that motherly support, it's harder for them to adapt.
I know you said you were raised by another family member, your aunt. So how did that shape, I know you touched a little bit on that, but how did that shape who you are today?
Well, my aunt, she's a straight shooter, and she raised me to be an honest, caring, and loving person. I can't thank her enough for that. She deals with my shortcomings, even though I'm stubborn at times. She's my mom, basically. So she helped shape me as the man who I have became, because I'm honest. I'm a straight shooter now. I look at things with street smarts now. She would give me chances to grow as a man. So I was able to go out by myself, and she would allow me to grow. And on top of that, I had faith to bring me up. So like I grew in faith. And that's another big deal is when you go into the foster care system and you don't have, I believe when you don't have faith, that's another thing that will break down that child. I was fortunate enough to find the Lord when I was 10 years old. I knew that he would take care of me. So when he put me inside the foster care system, I knew somebody was going to take care of me. And when my aunt picked me up out of the foster care system, it was just the right person. And with that background and with that encouragement and that loving guidance that my aunt has for me, that's why I'm the man who I am today.
She sounds like an incredible woman to have taken you in like that. That's just incredible.
Yeah, she was, at the time, she was working like a full-time job. And she took in my other brother, Maverick, and then she took on my little brother, Daniel. For somebody who could take on three men who had no manners, three men who had no manners, three men who basically were kids, and she was working a job, was just amazing to me. And like looking at it now, I'm so fortunate.
That's amazing. She's incredible for taking on three boys like that.
I know.
Is there anything that you wished that more people knew about the foster care system, or something that you wished maybe that you knew beforehand?
Well, I just wish that they had it like more organized and it was not a big fight to get everything. It took my aunt like probably nearly a year, or probably like before a year, to get us. And we lived in with our next door neighbor. And I believe that it shouldn't take that long if a family member to step in to bring that family member back. I believe that like it should take less time to bring another family member into the fold. If they know them, you already know them. We already went through the steps. So why is it taking us that long, And every single time it seemed like my aunt had to fight for something. And like it was harder and harder as it went on.
Yeah. I mean, you did mention about new regulations about home checks and background checks, which are great. Don't get me wrong, they're great and they've prevented a lot of heartache and a lot of suffering on children's parts. But you are right, especially if it is a family member and this is not their first rodeo, it should be an easier process. Like my family, we've adopted 4 kids. My parents adopted 4 kids. Every single time was the same ordeal. You needed to submit your background checks. You needed to get fingerprinted. You need to have the social worker come into the house, everything. It's like, we're not new at this. We've done this 3 times before.
I feel frustrated that you have to go through so much process with that. It's flesh and blood, and they know that. And we have to fight for these kids that are over there that God knows where they're going to go.
For just a shout out for young people who are in similar situations in foster care or wanting to be raised by an aunt or a grandparent, what would you like to tell them?
I would like to tell them to keep fighting and keep your faith up, because it's not easy out there. If you want to be raised by an aunt, I got fortunate enough to be raised by one of the best aunties I ever had. That's just honest opinion. So how I put it is just keep praying and keep your faith up, because when you pray, he will answer. And that's a solid thing that I live by.
Yeah, that's such great advice for any situation, whether you're adopted, considering adoption, fostered, or considering fostering, or just going through anything. Just keep praying, keep your faith up, because it's not always easy. It's a war out there. It's a battle, but there's no better feeling when you get over that hardship. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and sharing about your experience in the foster system, showing that it's not all bad. It's not all just a bunch of abuse or strangers taking in random kids. It can be family members too, which is great. So thank you for opening our eyes to that.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure.
And thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to learn more about foster care system or adoption or the adoption process, you can go to adoptionnetwork.com or click the link down below. And thank you very much again for having me. Hopefully Alicia is doing well. but I really enjoyed having the chance to step in her shoes and take on the role of interviewer. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.